First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from March 5th, 2019, and March 7th, 2019, Douglas Center Community Workshop, and the first one was a regular scheduled board meeting. Any questions or changes?
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stapleton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda. We have two
Mr.
through
Chairman, if you
19.
could
Yes,
give me 1 second. We've got the corrected, we had considered pulling this one item number 5, and we got the task order here. If I can pass that out real quick.
was that not the same one that was emailed out? Okay, yeah.
If you looked at your email or were able to open it, then you have it. But
Okay.
Otherwise, here's the hard copy.
Does the audience have it? They got here early.
They were emailed out, everybody's on the list.
I heard you. All right, we have items 2 through 19. Do you have any that you wish to pull for discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I promise I'll hold it down in time, but I wish to pull 13, 16 through 19.
And
Wait a second, say that again. You want to pull 13,
16 through 19.
13,
then 16 through 19?
16 through 19.
And Mr. Chairman, also just want, I don't know if I want to pull, just more clarification on 8 for,
Well, I was going to pull it.
was you going to do that? Okay.
Mr. Harris to explain it. Any others? All right, hearing none, need a motion to approve 2 through 7, 9 through 12, 14, 15, and we'll talk about the rest of them.
Make a motion, please.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Hale. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stapleton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, number 8, authorization to utilize funds that were budgeted for county improvements to county administration office to cover the cost of demolition of the buildings at the Douglas Center. I had some questions about it. Mr. Harris, you just give a brief description of it, please, sir?
I'll try to be brief. We budgeted for the improvements of the administration along with other capital improvements, Mizell building, some other things. The agreement that we had with North Florida Professional Services for drafting services ran into a little complication because the gentleman that does the drafting had some health issues and he's way behind. In addition to that, the Mizell building, which started out as working on the warehouse portion of that for storage, more recently, the Supervisor of Elections has agreed to move over into that, the whole office area. So we're having to put funding in for that, and it's taking more time than the warehouse portion of that would have. Now, that's a good thing because a few years ago, when we evaluated our capital improvement plan, the tax collector right across the street from the existing Supervisor of Elections building needed storage, which we couldn't build between there and the courthouse. So it was discussed back then, the option, if we could move the Supervisor of Elections utilizing that building for storage for the tax collector. So this is all a good thing. The timing just kind of evolved when we started working on the warehouse portion of the Mizell building. So that really is a big priority. They're asking us to try to have that completed somewhere around the first of the year so that they're prepared to move into the next election cycle. Administration, we're just going to have to deal with that like we would any business, private sector business. We just have to prioritize. And we know that we're going to be demoing the buildings at the Douglas Center. That money could sit there and roll over into next year, or we can just budget for it next year and use the funds now rather than take them out of either contingency or another fund. But I don't envision that work occurring in the current fiscal year, so.
Which work is that?
The administration building. So my thought is we just go ahead and use those funds now. I don't know that that'll cover 100% of it. It might be pretty close. If not, I'll come back and we'll have to move a little bit more money. Just depends on how the bids come in. The deadline for the bids is Friday, and then we'll bring back the results of that in your next regular board meeting.
Thanks, sir. Any questions? Do I have a motion to authorize?
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion approved by Commissioner Fleming, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Item 16, is that correct?
13.
Oh, 13, I missed that one. Authorization to purchase 11.5 acres parcel of property at the amount of $54,000 for the use of a solid waste collection site funded, budget impact funded by the Solid Waste Department. Mr. Richardson?
Just a question. I understand this process. I understand what's going on, but I think for the sake of the public, I think they need probably a quick, brief explanation.
30-second sketch.
Yep.
30-second sketch is that we were trying to find a new location that was closer to the existing site, and there were no properties available. We sent letters out to some property owners that are out of town. They wouldn't even respond. A little over a year ago, we looked at a property that was adjacent. It was available, but it's wet, too wet. It's got a creek running through it, so we couldn't use it. Very recently, I was actually out driving on a Sunday and saw a for sale sign on this property that's just one parcel down from it. So we communicated with the people, and it was for sale, and now we've got the ability to go ahead and purchase it. And it's going to serve everyone better in the immediate area of Wellborn. They know where the site is, but more importantly, it's large enough for us to create buffering. You know, the big problem there is that that's the gateway to Wellborn on 137, where the current site is, and everyone can see our trash out there. Even with the screening, it doesn't help. So we can get this thing off the road, put it back in there. It's buffered by good trees, and I think it helps us long-term.
How will this relate to the 3.6 acres that we currently have that'll be for sale? Do you know, got a market value on that?
Well, we've got an appraised value.
Appraised value, I mean.
Yeah, we have a fairly recent appraised value, so we'll just market that thing and sell it.
Think we'll be close to the purchase price of the other property?
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
I mean, we set the price, so hopefully that'll be the case. I will say that we're getting a lot more land this time for close to the same price.
Thank you. I'm good with it. Move to approve it.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fleming. Any further discussion? Hear none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say aye. All right.
I think we can deal with 16, 17, 18 in one group if you want to.
That's what I was fixed to ask you.
Okay.
This is not specific to one department.
Go ahead.
There you go.
Just go ahead with it.
My question with this is this year it's funded in this current budget, the new positions, but what is next year going to look like? Are we going to see now additional salaries added to our budget?
Yes. Simple
and
answer is yes.
That's a concern for me. And I realize that we've got more and more stuff that we're adding to these folks to do, and we need more, we either need more hours in the day, or we're going to need more people. But my concern is one by one, we're voting right here to add 3 more positions to our county government. And I'm not.
I've got the short answer to that. Short answer to that is that your demand for services is increasing every day, and we receive it on the call-ins that come in for service, and commissioners receive those same calls that we do. We put them in a computer. So the demand of service continues to increase with our population increase and wear and tear on roads and everything else. In the case of the sign man, I think we've got 6 vacancies in there. And there's more than one of those positions that I don't plan to fill, so I'm balancing that.
Okay.
With fire rescue, you don't really have an option there. The state and the federal government's requiring that.
Okay.
The one with building maintenance, we've got a gentleman that could retire sometime in the next few years. We have one man that's operating as an electrician over there, and next man needs to be trained to know where all of our panels and all our switches and everything else is throughout the county, and we just need to get that man in place.
That's what I was fixed to say. It's not necessarily training him as an electrician, it's training him where everything is, or where it's
So
located.
he's basically going to take the place of somebody who's going to retire.
Eventually, and that's the plan. We don't want someone to retire and walk out
No,
and
you don't.
no
I mean, just,
institutional knowledge
just
of where things
one
are.
facility. Think of the Coliseum and all the different connections and tie-ins to different buildings. There's just no way to hire somebody off the street and send them over there to work on it without a little bit of history of the building.
We've been very conservative with hiring additional personnel over the years. We really don't hire a lot of people on a regular basis. Very rare.
Okay. Still not 100% for it, but somebody else wants to approve it, they can.
We can reduce service down the south end if you'd like to save some money.
We do a lot down
So we
south.
need to take that one at a time.
We do mostly here in Live Oak.
Unless, unless somebody makes a motion to approve all three of them, we can do that because it appears on the consent. And those
Well, there's,
people- I'd prefer that you do them one at a time.
all right. So,
For number 16, I make a motion to approve.
got a motion.
Is that the way you want to do it?
Okay. Did I not write it down that we approved 13?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we approved
Okay.
it.
sorry.
It was Richardson and Fleming was the second.
Okay, thank you.
So I got a motion to approve 16 by
Second.
Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Stapleton. Any further discussion? Hear none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. 17, the authorization to create a position in building maintenance for the electrician. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Stapleton. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion?
Yeah, just one thing. You got a time frame about how long it'll be before possibly retirement, before this
Oh,
position
no.
gets replaced and
I
reduced?
have no idea.
I'll be watching the budget to see how we're doing on salaries. It's, all
Yeah, I don't have any idea
Okay.
when he'll retire.
right, that's it.
All right, got a motion and a second. With, hear no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Was 17 correct? So,
Did you pull 19 as well?
Yeah, I did. You talked a little bit about it already.
Yeah, I circled
I
that.
circled it, I was thinking, but we did pull it.
You did.
All right, authorization to create one position in the road department, sign specialist, budget impact within the current budget. They'll have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Fleming, second by Commissioner Stapleton. Any discussion? Hear none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item 19, authorization to modify Mazel's building to provide for relocating supervisor of elections office. Mr. Harris? I know you
This
briefly
estimate
touched
in
that.
here of 175, that's in addition to what we'd already put in the budget to work on that building. The roof's got to be replaced, all the siding. You can see that we've already rebuilt the rear wall and put a loading dock in there to accommodate what we had started with, and we understood when we went into the budget, which was the warehouse portion, and getting the supervisor of elections equipment out of the upstairs of the old administration building and down there. All that has to be climate controlled. We had budgeted $100,000. Now we're going to need to go ahead and fund the improvements to turn that into office space, that front portion of the building. I will say as well that the sheriff's department operates on the south end of that building. They're going to have an office with 2 people in it. And then that portion that we rebuilt, that we had to tear off and then rebuild after we did the state attorney's office and parking lot, that newer portion over there that's block will continue to be used by the sheriff's department. So we'll have 2 people from the sheriff's department. The balance of it will be the supervisor of elections, with the exception of a storage room over there for planning and, or the zoning department and building department that'll have their records in there.
How's this going to affect our storage plans for that using that building for more storage than now it would be used for?
Well, we'll make adjustments, and I'll bring those back to you. Because part of that was going to be space for administration to keep some stuff in climate-controlled areas. So I had taken that off of the plans for the administration expansion before, and I'll come up with a plan before we get to our budget workshops for that. But with this, you know, the plan too is to free up the upstairs building over there so we can put our economic development director in there and accommodate some other office space in that building that's currently being used for storage.
I was just gonna ask about that building over there, the upstairs building over there.
Right. It's completely full right now with storage. So we'll be able to free up a lot of that for office space once we move all that voting equipment and other things out of there.
So we got a prorate part that the sheriff's office use in it, like we do with the,
Well, we always charge him double.
okay.
Yeah, we just don't tell him. No, I will say, though, the sheriff's been real good about, that building was full of stuff. You know, when they had 10 containers out there, shipping containers full of stuff, when we started that whole state attorney's process, they had to scramble and move stuff out. And then they didn't have any place to put it, so they built one building over there off 136. But Wendell Fiegel's done a spectacular job of getting rid of stuff, and there was a lot of stuff that had to go. Same was true with Nettie Based, and it was full of everyone's old stuff that had been discarded. So they've done a great job of working on emptying out the rest of the Mizell building for us so that we can go ahead and continue with our plans over there.
So I have a motion to authorize modifying the Mizell's building.
So moved.
Is that Richardson?
Yes.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richardson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hale. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I will point out, it's printed on the agenda item that I've identified the reserve for capital outlay as the source of funding for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, moving on to general business, discuss with possible board action, authorization to purchase property for taxes owed in the amount of approximately $3,500. Mr. Harris.
This is a very problematic property in Branford. Sheriff's Department's been out there several times. In fact, I think you had to pull a vehicle out of the road, didn't you, recently? Yeah, this is a serious, serious problem. And I don't mind telling you that a lot of counties will do exactly what I'm recommending here. When you've got a serious problem out there, a drug house that's being used, and typically they have lots of code violations like this one does. This one has over $70,000 worth of code violation fines against it right now. The owners wouldn't do anything, didn't care, thumbed their nose at everyone. It's just a mess. $3,500 worth of taxes are owed on it. We can buy the taxes and pay ourselves for the taxes is what it would amount to. Clean the property up and make it marketable. In a lot of cases, if you've got an old dilapidated building there that's fallen apart, that they're doing drugs in, you just go in and bulldoze the things and clean it up and then sell it to recoup your expense. In this case, it's got a mobile home on it, another little garage that's way too close to the property line. That's another problem that we've dealt with. But my recommendation or my request is that you just go ahead and let us pay the taxes, own the property. We can get rid of the fines, and we can get this place cleaned up and get it back on the market.
It already went to a tax deed sale, didn't it? And it didn't sell?
It didn't sell.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I mean, I've been dealing with this problem for the past 2.5 years. And I know one of our staff members lives down on that road, so she's dealing with it as well. Neighbors have been complaining the last 2.5 years about the mess. And I got a phone call this past week from one of the family members that has inherited the larger percentage of the property since the one person lost it, and asked if there was any way we could sell it back to him for or that he could buy it for the tax deed. I talked to Mr. Harris about it, and I'll be honest with you, considering the family and how many problems we've had in the past, I would hate to put it back in the hands of that family and end up having to deal with this problem again and again. I know no one wants to pay $70,000 worth of fines. Once it's cleaned up, I'm sure that we would have a better chance of getting that waived. I don't know if we have the power to do it. But
We can get rid of the fines.
it certainly is worth it because they have suffered through a lot of that. It's right on the road where they can't get away from it, so. And that's the reason why there's two reasons why did not sell. Number one was the fines that were levied, and number two, there was an exemption, homestead exemption,
It automatically sells at 25, I think, what is it, 25% of the value?
which has since been lifted, so.
Got a question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead. We'll go to the public after the board's discussion is over.
I do have a question. If we have $70,000 of fines on it, and you're saying we're only gonna pay $3,500?
The 3,500 is just the taxes
I
owed.
understand that, but
Yeah,
I'm
it's
saying,
taxes versus code enforcement, they're two different things. So on code enforcement, then the lien is there, and the lien is accumulating, each day. And once we get the property back, I mean, we can then waive, you have to have them come back before the board, and then you waive the fine on the property.
my question is though, to get the property right now, it's the 70,000 plus the 3,500
No,
a year
no,
average?
It's
No.
3,500.
3,500.
No,
So anybody could buy it for
Anybody could have bought it at the courthouse steps for the taxes that were owed,
Plus,
25.
plus the fines.
Right.
plus the fine.
That's my point.
Well, the fine, they wouldn't have to pay the fine then, would they? It would just still been levied against the property, correct?
It
I think
just,
you gotta pay it then, don't you?
it just depends on whether or not the person that bought it then immediately moved in and claimed homestead or not. But we could have then levied on the fines to be able to get the property by levying on the $70,000. But because it was homestead, we could not foreclose on the property to collect the levy of the 70.
But if we pay the 3,500 now, we have the right to get rid of the $70,000 worth of fines.
That's correct.
We
That's
can
correct.
clean it up, put it back on the market.
That's
sell it for
correct.
$10,000 or whatever market value is.
And this was the situation that me and Mr. Meeks went, not around and around about, but we seemed to find that there was, we're in this circular argument that we can't get out of. I mean, if somebody's got a homestead and they're violating code, they get fined. As long as they continue to pay their taxes and continue to do what they're doing, those fines can accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. As long as they live there in perpetuity, their fines could go on and on and on without us doing anything because of homestead.
The legislature made that in chapter 162. They made that decision.
So there's really very little enforcement on homestead we can actually do, unless, in this case, they just didn't pay the taxes. And that's what got them.
That's right.
I'm good. Mr. Chair.
Anyone else have anything?
No, I'm.
Yes, sir. If you would, step to the podium. I need your name and address for the record.
My name's Fred Martin. I live in McAlpin. The sheriff's right here. You say it's a drug house. Why don't you tell him to take them out? I mean, is it that simple? If they're using them for a drug house, tell the sheriff to arrest them. Damn.
Thank you, sir.
Why are they still out? Well, it seems like every time I see people that go in and out.
Excuse me, Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin,
Mr.
Mr. Martin,
Excuse me.
you're here to discuss this with the board, not with the
Okay.
audience. He's in audience. He's not,
Well, what I don't understand is if they're doing drugs out there over and over again, y'all got the power to confiscate the property, don't you?
that's what we're about to do.
What we're fixing to do.
Then do it and get rid of them.
That's what we're about to do. Thank you, sir.
I think the question is why
Appreciate your
can't we
support.
confiscate the property?
remember Mr. Martin
Why can't the
saying
sheriff's
this when he
department
was
confiscate
running.
the property if it's being used for drugs at the time of the arrest and conviction?
Yeah, well,
I think
that-
that's
Well,
a question for him.
That's
to
a
answer,
discussion
not
for
us.
another day.
That's
But I
complete.
do think that that's what the.
What's the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion.
I second.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Stapleton, second by Commissioner Hill. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Mr. Harris, there's nothing on 136, and I said,
I'll waive the balance of my time for the evening, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. No additional agenda items. Anybody from the public wishing to speak, they'd make their way to the podium. Hearing none, we'll move right along. Mr. Harris waived his balance of time for administrator comments. Moving on to item 25. Board members' requests and comments. Mr. Richard, you got anything?
We're having a town hall
Thank you,
meeting.
sir. Moving on, Mr. Fleming, you got anything?
I know you really want to go. We do have a town hall meeting in the Ranchettes. I've invited everyone out to be a part of it because it's going to be discussing the future of the Ranchettes Community Center.
All right.
Catfish
Mr.
Festival.
Hill, Mr. Stapleton.
Nothing.
I'd just like to say,
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that, I'm going to take my 3 minutes.
Go ahead, I'm giving it to you. It's already 6:30, I'm late.
I'm trying to commend you on the American Legion.
Oh, that's right, well, go ahead. I'll-
Now it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, put him up there, yeah.
You have 30 minutes, Mr. Stapleton.
Stand up while we applaud you.
No, but anyway, the chairman done a great thing and got that taken care of and presented them with a copy of the deed, is that right?
Yes, sir.
On Sunday?
Sunday afternoon.
So we went out there for that event, and it was a nice event. They had a great turnout, and they're very grateful to have the deed to their property, and that was a great thing. And other than that, that's all I got. We got the fair this week, and we got hogs for sale, and
Go-
Years.
I can give you a name if anybody's needing to purchase one.
I'm waiting to get on the hook. One of y'all are gonna call, I'm sure.
I don't have anything other than my little girl showing right now, so this time I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Did we approve 161st? Because I don't remember approving it to be put on the list.
I'm still planning.
But you got to work a little bit more through that one.
But good, how you doing?
Here, I've got stuff in the pocket you can send home, or you can shred with. Are you gonna do this one, or is this something to keep? I think for mine, I want to, yeah, because I'm gonna